Federal government promises distribution of CBN's free prepaid meters to begin soon. On tax evasion, Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) plans direct deductions from defaulters' bank accounts. Bill Gates gets restored to billionaires list and crude near $70 this Thursday. The program is Business Express and we're reaching you on the network service of the NTA. My name is Recapitalization Babatunde. We begin the business of the day by informing you that the Federal Executive Council has approved over $8.28 billion, as well as $3.01 billion for the execution of various contracts aimed at upgrading the nation's power infrastructure for effective service delivery to consumers. The Minister of Power, Salim Mamman, announced these while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Minister also said the distribution of the 4 million free electricity prepaid meters pledged by the Central Bank of Nigeria will soon begin across the country. The CBN had promised to augment the government's effort to distribute free prepaid meters with additional 4 million pieces.
And supply of critical spare part for chromosomes, grapes, 330 kV, 132 kV, and 33 kV circuit breakers in the sum of 298,339,887 naira. And the second one is the award of the contract for the procurement of 50 sets of 400 AH battery banks, 30 to 50 volts, and 30 number of 110 volts battery chargers for the substation used by the TCM in the sum of 644,805,953 naira 10 kobo. All this procurement is geared towards upgrades of the transmission system to the national grid so that we are going to have a sufficient power supply to the.
The federal government says it has provided 100% funding to budgeted allocations for the armed forces in the country. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Zainab Ahmed stated these at a Senate committee hearing in Abuja. She explained that what the ministry is providing for the armed forces is not enough, but has so far approved all budgeted allocations to the armed forces, adding that the president puts premium on the welfare and equipment for the military.
And when you look at the details, you find that the request is made through the Ministry of Defense by the Defense headquarters, and they detail out how each of these funds is going to be used. So it's initiated by the ministry, by the Defense, it goes to the President, he approves, we release what is based on what is approved. We don't have any view of the actual utilization of this. What we are doing is releasing the funds.
We have agreed to work together so that when the supplementary budget comes before the National Assembly, it will not be a strange document.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS) says it has served public notices to defaulters that the service plans to recover taxes due from the defaulters' assets in the custody of any person, including but not limited to some standing to its credit with a financial institution in Nigeria. A notice signed by the executive chairman of the FIRS, Mr. Muhammad Nami, indicates that all companies, corporate entities, and other agents of collection stated are required to pay all outstanding tax liabilities to the FRS within 30 days from the date of publication of the notice, or risk having all outstanding taxes deducted directly from their bank accounts or statutory allocations, or have their other assets seized by the FRS and turned over to the government of the Federation in lieu of the withheld taxes. Experts say more than two-thirds of licensed microfinance banks, MFBs, in Nigeria may close shop if they fail to meet the recapitalization deadline, the first threshold of which is due by the end of April. Of the 874 licensed MFBs, about 612 may be affected, although the final deadline will be in 2022. These banks were established to meet the financial needs of Nigeria's low-income earners. Considering the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on economic activities, Central Bank of Nigeria in 2020 revised the deadline for compliance with the minimum capital requirements for microfinance banks by 1 year. How will these affect micro, small, and medium enterprises, who are the mainstay of the economy, and in the long run, financial inclusion? Our guest to look at this issue is Ayodeji Ebo, an economist at Chapel Hill, Denham, and he joins me from Lagos. Ayo, you're welcome to Business Express.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Great. Perhaps we start by hearing from you the basic functions of microfinance banks in a country like Nigeria, with a target of reaching majority of them unbanked.
Okay, thanks. From the word micro, so it's the major responsibility of the microfinance bank is to provide banking services to the retail or to the low-end segment of Nigeria. So you have the rural area, and also you see most dense area where commercial banks are unable to reach. So they are closer to the I would say they are closer to the lower end. So what they try to do is they understand the business that they do, they have access to them, and in terms of proximity, they are also available for the businessmen. So they control more of the informal sector in the country, and their structure for what they do. When you look at in terms of their function, they are able to the unbanked. They have been able to most of the unbanked have been able to access banking through the microfinance banks, and also especially for credit, we've seen credits today from the banking microfinance sector increase from 2018 around 250 billion, and as at 2020 is currently around 500 billion. So we've seen that over time. So they bridge that gap where the commercial banks are unable to reach. They are also able to serve their purpose.
Now, 50 million naira with less than 1 year to go. Do you think this is the right time for this recapitalization, considering the impact of the virus, which is still with us, amongst other things?
Okay, thank you. The first thing is we have about 900 microfinance banks in Nigeria, and there's sometimes when you have too many high number of firms, when you look at it from the perspective of regulations. So for the microfinance bank, they serve as a custodian to customers' deposits, and in terms of the customers needs to be protected. So, and when you see how the economy is evolving, the capital that you require for your business in the last 5 years is not what you require now. When you factor in inflation, factor in exchange rates. So I think it's important, because there's a minimum. What the CBN is just trying to say is, you guys are when you look at the loan you have been giving over time, that has also increased. So you need more capital in case if there's a shock. How do you have that buffer? And how is our customers also protected? Yes, I think it was extended last year too. Deadline was supposed to be last year, but due to the COVID challenges, it was extended. Yes, maybe CBN may look at it and review maybe for it may not be up to a year this time, maybe for another 6 months, just for the pandemic or the economy to stabilize. But the fact is, based on our view, the fact is that there's a need to recapitalize. So what we would see is, within the microfinance segment, they have different licenses. So you have to accommodate the lower end, you have the tier 1, tier 2 units microfinance license, which the requirement for the tier 2, which is for the unbanked area, is 50 million, 35 million in 2021, then 50 million in 2022. For the tier 1 bank, which is for the unit area, so you have one location, and that is 100 million in 2021 and 200 million in 2022. Then you also have the states, which has been moved to about 1 billion that would be 1 billion in 2022, and you have for the national, which would be about 5 billion in 2022. So what we typically see is that we may see some of the microfinance bank now downgrade. So if you feel that you cannot continue as a state based on your business model, you may want to downsize and come down to a tier 1 unit bank. If you cannot sustain the tier 1 unit bank, you may come down to a tier 2 unit bank. Yeah, because as we progress, as you increase the number of loans, there may be shock. How you will need capital for you to be able to buffer, to absorb that shock rather. So I think it's important that we need to be able to recapitalize. And as the numbers are growing, it will become a bit more tedious, more difficult, even for regulations. And the first thing, because it will still go back to the CBN, if you have more microfinance bank default, more microfinance bank unable to pay deposits, and Nigerians are losing their deposits, then it will still bounce back to the CBN, who has the oversight regulations, and I feel that's what the CBN is trying to do.
Okay, let me just come in here. I'm very happy with the breakdown you're giving there. How would this tell on those in the rural areas that depend largely on the services of MFBs?
Okay, thanks. I know we have within the banking, so we look at it within the banking space, we have what we call agency banking. So even if you have the unit microfinance bank in one location, let's assume in Lagos State, for instance, you may have agents. You may not have an office. You may have agents across the different locations, not a physical office, as agents that is helping you in terms of the services. So I think cutting across agency banking and also trying to see that you may not need to have those physical offices. So we see a lot of the microfinance banks that we have are units microfinance bank, and it is based on the location where they operate. So for most of them, you are just expected, if you have a unit microfinance bank, so you choose the location Lagos. So I think part of what to build capacity would need to see, we may begin to see, let's say, mergers amongst the unit microfinance banks, so that it will reduce their numbers. So if your capital before is 20 million and you have 20, why two of you can come together to meet up with the 50 million naira capital requirement? And to the rural areas, the customers, the little money they are making also needs to be protected. And with more capital, it also gives you that platform to be able to provide better services, which I don't think that those in the rural area will be shortchanged. Rather, the services would improve. We saw that within the banking space in 2005, the consolidation. A lot of banks and was reduced to about, I think about 15 banks, if I can recall correctly, 15 banks then. And we saw them being able to do more with the capital. So I think that I don't see a situation where it would impact financial inclusion, which is where we're going.
Okay,
And
great. Let me
yeah,
just come in here. We've also seen an increase in fintech, in small fintech companies, the startups that are offering most of these services. How do you see this imparting on the broader quest for financial inclusion?
yes, a very interesting question you have asked, and we all know that technology is doing a lot in Nigeria, and we also do have to adapt to that. So we know even in the rural area, for most of the microfinance banks that are riding more on fintech, you would discover that one, it reduces their cost. You don't need any physical building. You build a robust technology. And we can see what with the penetration of phones, even our grandmas in the village, they can operate their phones, they can call, they can read, they can send text messages. So you can ride on this. You don't need to have physical buildings or locations for some of the. Yes, we know there's still a transaction, but with agents, you're also able to do that because of the small volume of with the small amount that they handle. So I see technology also helping in terms of the financial inclusion, and the microfinance license would help to solve it. So you can have a unit microfinance license, and you cut across Nigeria. So you have your location anywhere you wish to, but you're able to build a very robust platform that with those even in the rural area that may not even require internet to operate. You have the USSD code that you may also use to operate, sign open accounts, make transfers. And I believe that as we progress, we would be able to see more of that. And riding on technology with what we've seen happening in the telecom sector, we believe that that will not impact on financial inclusion.
Okay, let me just add this last question before I let you go. There was the quest for 80% coverage, and then, of course, as it elapsed, we were able to record 64%. How would you rate that drive that has been put forward by the Central Bank of Nigeria?
Yes, sorry if I get the question correctly. In terms of the recapitalization, that they've been able to achieve 64%, or is it in terms of financial inclusion?
Financial inclusion.
Yes, we know, yes, there's progress based on the data, but there's still a lot to do, which also now shows where the opportunity is. And for microfinance bank, they should be able to tap into the opportunity using technology, which would one, reduce their costs. Yes, the capitalization, you may say it's a bit high, but it's required for them to be able to. They need resources to be able to build a good platform. So with 35 million naira capital requirements, is just to be sure that not just anybody is going into that business and customers' funds are saved. So I believe that we'll just continue to push with the most of the telecoms have also applied for the mobile banking license. So when you see that, for once they also get approval, they will also be able to penetrate the rural areas, which would also help. We saw that that model work perfectly in Kenya, and we believe that it's also possible to do that in Nigeria.
Okay, I think that will be a very nice place to encore this discussion. And I must sincerely thank you, IODG, for sparing your time with us this morning.
Always my pleasure.
Thank you. Do have a nice one. Business Express continues after this break. Please stay tuned.
National Microfinance Bank wishes to inform the general public not to give money to anybody disguising as its staff or agent to secure the COVID-19 Targeted Credit Facility, or AGS MEIS loan. However, a training fee is charged by Accredited Entrepreneurship Development Training Institute, EDIs, for the training and business plan for the AGS MEIS loan. Whenever you are in doubt, please call us at 0901 002 6905. If anyone has collected money to help you get the loan, please lodge a complaint on our whistleblowing portal by sending us an email on whistleblower@nmfb.com.ng. Nirsal Microfinance Bank also wishes to inform the general public that the COVID-19 targeted credit facility disbursed by our bank is a loan and beneficiaries must pay back with interest. The COVID-19 targeted credit facility should not be misconstrued as a grant from the government. Call 094-621-730 or visit www.nmfb.com.ng for more information.
Now, many businesses in the country are still trying to stabilize after the COVID-19 came with various challenges. Just how affected is tailoring business? Blessing Easy tells a story on surviving COVID-19 today with Muplang Dakok.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Blessing Eze is physically challenged. Despite that and the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, she is determined to grow her tailoring business. She says her passion for fashion, which she developed from childhood, keeps her going.
I like people where they dress well. I like if I see people wearing good clothes, wear better clothes. I they like and wear well. So when I finish secondary school, I reason now. When my sister asked me what do you want to further your education, or do you want to go and learn work, or do you want to do hairdresser, or do you want to learn computer? I said I will go for the fashion design.
How is her business surviving?
I thank God, Sha, that they are coming small. At least it's not the money I used to make before I used to make now. But I know at the end of the month, I know how much I used to make, but now I'm not making reach that.
While many Nigerians are excited about the various funds by the Central Bank of Nigeria for small businesses like hers, Blessing is afraid to even apply.
The reason I do not apply is because I don't think whether I'll be able to make it where I am, the environment I'm living. But if the form is still available next year, I will go for it.
The pandemic has affected small businesses like hers. However, she has up to 4 apprentices and is hopeful about the future.
I wish that the COVID-19 will go so that things will be normal again. So that people who used to so-called will come back and start their businesses again.
And now, world shares and commodity prices held firm this Thursday as investors switched to cyclicals amid hopes of a strong economic recovery. Nekaoko has the numbers on global stock markets.
Asia's stocks markets traded mixed on Thursday. Japanese markets returned to trade for the first time this week after being closed for a 5-day public holidays. The benchmark Nikkei 225 jumped 1.8%, trimming some of its earlier gains, while in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng Index traded fractionally higher by 0.40%. Chinese mainland stocks traded for the first time in the month of May after being closed for public holidays. The Shanghai Composite gave up gains to decline 0.09%, while the Shenzhen component fell 1.82%. European markets are set for a muted open on Thursday as investors monitor a slew of corporate earnings. London's FTSE is seen around 4 points higher at 7,043. Germany's DAX is expected to fall by around 15 points to 15,156. And CAC 40 of France is set to open flat at 6,339 according to IG data. U.S. stocks are pointing to a flat open after the Dow closed out Wednesday's session at a new record high. With mixed trading on Wednesday, African markets are expected to cancel losses as other stocks across the globe held firm amidst economic recovery. Nekaoko, Business Express.
Now, yuan weakens to 1 week low as market plays catch up with firmer dollars as the dollar hovered near a 2-week high on Thursday, consolidating ahead of a key U.S. jobs report. How is the naira faring against these major currencies? Let's find out. And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us by sending in your comments, observations, suggestions, and questions. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag. It is BizX. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can catch up with us on other social media platforms as well. Join us again Friday at 3 p.m. I am Leah Katung. Baba Tunde.